Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, November 12th. I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Big game for the Chiefs this weekend. They head to Las Vegas to meet the Raiders, and the Chiefs should be feeling pretty good about themselves. They've won 2 straight for the first time this season and are in the thick of the AFC standings. Based on our preseason expectations, a 5-4 record isn't what we figured at the halfway point of the schedule, but there are some signs the Chiefs may be beginning to turn the corner. Chiefs beat writers Herbie, Teope, and Sam McDowell, along with columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian, break down the Chiefs. We spent plenty of time talking about what it'll take to get the offense going. That last series against the Packers, when Patrick Mahomes completed 3 straight first down passes, maybe that's the beginning of a turnaround. The conversation started as a SportsBeat Live and is now presented as a SportsBeat KC podcast. Let's get started. Hey, good morning from Kansas City. Welcome to SportsBeat Live, our weekly visit talking Chiefs. We do that with the folks in the media who know them best. And with you, please send us your questions and comments and join in the conversation. In the house now are Herbie, Teope, Sam Mellinger, and Vahe Gregorian. And joining us in a bit, once you can get that computer rebooted, will be Sam McDowell. Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football. Some of the crew getting there a little earlier than others, but that's okay. It's glad to see that. Herbie, why don't you start it off by telling us if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to play this weekend?
And that's a good question and a fair question. We'll find out this afternoon when Andy Reid talks, but Edwards-Helaire was designated to return on Wednesday, and he was on the practice field Wednesday and Thursday. We asked Eric Bieniemy how he looked, and Bieniemy said, hey, he looked good. And Bieniemy also pointed out what they've been missing. Let's put this in perspective. He's missed 4 games. He's got 306 yards rushing, and it still leads the team. So they are missing that dynamic piece. In a perfect world, if he puts in a practice again on Friday, Andy Reid will say, hey, yeah, of course he'll say we'll see. But, that's a step in the right direction that he could be available.
I think they've missed Edwards-Helaire a little bit, but I don't think I think they filled that spot pretty well with Darrell Williams and Derek Gore, Jerick McKinnon. What do you think, Herbie? They the numbers aren't great, but the production's been okay there.
It's been okay, but I think you got to remember Edwards-Helaire is a first-round draft pick, and then if you're filling in his spot with a bunch of undrafted free agents, you are going to be missing something from the talent level. Edwards-Helaire, when he was drafted out of LSU, was that dynamic receiver out of the backfield. We know from being out there at St. Joe in training camp, that's what they worked on a lot, was getting him more involved in the passing game, and we haven't seen a lot of that with these running backs. I think, the way that the Chiefs, the defenses that they're facing, when you got a running back who can hurt you in the open field, like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield, that's the piece I think they've really been missing.
Brian LaBerge notes that the offense scoring numbers are drastically different when Clyde Edwards-Helaire is in the lineup versus when he's not. I kind of think that's a little more coincidence. We know about what's happened offensively with the Chiefs especially the last 3 weeks. We're down to 36 points, and I'm glad Brian brought that up because I have got some numbers here I wanted to share with you guys. Over the last 3 games, Chiefs have had 27 possessions in those 3 games. Tennessee, the Giants, the Green Bay Packers, non-end-of-half kneel-down possessions. They have punted 10 times, 3 touchdowns, 5 field goals, 1 missed field goal, and 5 turnovers among the key stats there. 3 touchdowns in the last 27 possessions, and one of them was a 13-yard drive because of a Willie Gay interception against the Giants, that first touchdown against New York. And one of the field goals, one of the Butker field goal came on a really short drive because of turnover. So the offense, Vahe, you went and explored in a big way, sort of with Patrick Mahomes. What's going on with the offense. You went outside the Chiefs' orbit, in fact, to look at some explanation for this. What did you find?
Well, first of all, I want to note the first Blair sigh of the show comes on the offense.
Yeah, Beth was thinking it was going to come on the night game. I'm saving that sigh for later. But
And one other thing that was interesting, I didn't realize it was 10 punts the last 3 games, but of course it was 6 on Sunday. They had punted only 12 times in the first 6 games. So that tells a little story too. Here's the thing, and I literally everybody has a different feeling about this. Patrick hasn't played the way we're used to seeing him play. He's had some bad plays, but I think also in talking to some people who've known him, but also to a sports psychologist, it is probably useful to us to remember that if you're third in the league in passing yards and third in the league in touchdown passes, you're okay. And I do think it is worth remembering. We've probably beaten this point up a lot, but 5, certainly 4, and maybe a 5th. It's hard for me to still tell where that one carom went. Half of Patrick's interceptions were off of a piece of Chiefs equipment or Chiefs hands. So add it all up. This is not to say Patrick's been the same as he's been. And I think we all have some questions about some of his curious decisions and, whether he's a little clogged up pressing. I think there's no doubt he's pressing. But I think
they agree.
It's such a great point. The dogs are doubling down. Anyway, I think there's a general timing matter that's really at play that I think is still a little indiscernible. Like, I don't get why he's sometimes not quite on the same page with Travis Kelce the way he's been. I don't get why Tyreek Hill is dropping so many passes. I don't get why Patrick hasn't seen a couple places where he could have run for 25 yards the other day and didn't. I do think you guys will be more nimble-minded at making this case with better science. But I do think we're also tracking the arc here of how he is learning to work with his offensive line and what changes they're making and where the pocket is and where he's supposed to be and what the Chiefs want him to do. So we got a lot of stuff that's throwing off timing and sync. And then when you're second in the league in offensive penalties and first in the league in turnovers, you're going to have some problems. So that's a lot of words, but I wanted to make up for the dogs. And I think that Patrick Mahomes will be okay, is the bottom line.
And Sam McDowell has joined us. Sam is having some technical difficulties. But good morning, Sam.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, it just took me a while to get my avatar here.
The perfect avatar, by the way. What are your thoughts on the offense? And the Chiefs are 2-1 in these games in which they scored 36 points. I know you remember, I looked at this the other day. The last time they went through a stretch like this was that 2015 Giants, Jets, Bills debacle, where they lost all 3 of those games, couldn't score. 2 of those games were at the MetLife Stadium, and then they came home and played the Bills and didn't score then. It was the last year of Alex Smith. The team went on to make the playoffs, but that team was challenged offensively, certainly in that stretch like this one is. This one's finding ways to win. So should we be overly concerned about what's going on offense?
I think we should be properly concerned, right? We should be just exactly the right amount of concern, which is less than a freak out. I think that it's easy. We all get kind of captive in the moment. And it's easy to forget that they have struggled before. And, the 3-game stretch that Mahomes is on, and look, you can push it to 5 if you want, statistically at least. But I think these last 3 games have been pretty bad, at least by his standards. And it just statistically, like completion percentage, touchdown interception ratio, passer rating, those kinds of things. It's pretty similar to a 3-game stretch that he had in 2019. If they win the game on Sunday, and it's an it's a tough game, but if they win the game on Sunday, they will have the exact same record they had in 2019. I think that they have some issues. And I still think that the lion's share of it is the quarterback. And we heap praise. I mean, we box each other out and everything. Everybody can't wait to praise Patrick Mahomes when things are going well. And it seems strange to me that a lot of fans, it seems a lot of fans are slow to point out when he's not playing well. It seems like that should be a fair thing to do. And one thing that Vahe mentioned that I would just want to underline is, look, I think on his throws, we can see that he's pressing. I think that's obvious. I think in some of his decisions, we can see that he's pressing. That's obvious. But one thing that Vahe mentioned that I want to underline is there's opportunities to run that he's just not taking advantage of. And I think that if he can get himself to do that, especially with these, the cover two that nobody's ever seen in the history of the NFL before, this flummoxed cover two. If they're playing deep like that, more room, right? And Patrick Mahomes is not Lamar Jackson, but he's also not, Dan Marino. And so he can get 8, 12, 15, whatever yards. And then I think once he does that, some other things might open up for him. And I also think that they do miss Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Herbie, it's a smart point about that he still leads the team in rushing. And I looked it up. So, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I have this stuff memorized, but he's got 304 yards. Darrell Williams has 300. Darrell Williams has 19 more carries. I think, that efficiency, I think, I don't think he's lived up to the first round pick, but he's still a talented back. And I think they will be better off when he returns.
Blair, if I could interrupt here, I'm kind of curious, Sam, because it seems like every game when we're watching Patrick Mahomes that we're on Pro Football Reference, like looking up some sort of worst stat, could this be the worst? Last week it was yards per attempt. And a couple weeks earlier it was rating. A few weeks earlier it was completion percentage. So when you say that it's the 3-game, some similar statistics, I'm kind of curious how similar those are, if you don't mind giving away some of your column on Sunday.
Sam McDowell, I've got it right here, buddy. All right, over the last 3 games, he's at 57.5% completions. This is this year. Last 3 games, 57.5% completions, 647 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, passer rating of 71.1. In 2019, and this is weeks 11 through 13, and I don't have the opponents right in front of me, but that was after he came back. New England, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, weeks 11 through 13, 59.7%, 640 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 79.6%. Or 79.6 rating.
Wow.
So it's really, almost identical. 1 more touchdown in the stretch in 2019.
Hey, one other thing, just, I don't know if these numbers are interesting to you guys or not, but he's thrown for only 130 yards less than he had at this time last year, which that surprised me. And the interceptions are a pretty dramatic part of his line here, but the 20 touchdown passes is also as many as he had 2 years ago at this time. Actually, with 1 more start, I was including the Denver game that he so 10 starts. But just some of those numbers, I think, just bear mention because it gives you a little framing on some aspects. And obviously, we see the deficiencies and other things, but to some degree, the productivity isn't that much different.
Well, I'll add that Tyreek Hill's yards per reception is down about 3 yards under his career average. He's at 11 point something, and he's at close to 15 as a career average. And again, the Chiefs have won 2 of these 3 games thanks to a couple of things. The defense has improved, has played better. The quality of the quarterback the Chiefs have faced is less. In fact, as I was scribbling notes this morning, let me share this with you. So the quarterbacks the Chiefs have beaten this year: Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Tyler Heineke, Daniel Jones, Jordan Love. Quarterbacks that have beaten the Chiefs: Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill. Quarterbacks that are remaining on the schedule: Derek Carr twice, starting Sunday; Dak Prescott, Teddy Bridgewater twice; Herbert, Ben Roethlisberger, and Joe Burrow. I think the remaining quarterbacks are similar as a group to the team quarterbacks of the teams that have beaten the Chiefs and the ones that they have beaten. So I do think Patrick Mahomes likes the challenge of facing another. The week of the Bills game, it was Mahomes against Allen, and certainly we were all looking forward to Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers last week, which didn't happen. So listen, it's 27 possessions and 3 touchdowns, and one of them was a gift touchdown. That's that's what's in front of us here. And is there any reason to believe that that's going to change when they go to the Raiders? Is there anything about the Raiders defense, Herbie, that should present the Chiefs some opportunity on offense?
They're pretty stout against the pass, and that's going to be a concern there because they're ranked. They entered this weekend ranked 6th. I think you also have to worry about the offensive line against that pass rush. Both of the defensive ends are combined for 11 sacks. Max Crosby is going to be going up against the 3rd Chiefs right tackle. And the other guy, I always butcher his last name. Help me out here, Blair.
Is it Yannick Ngakoue or something like that? Him,
yeah.
He's good. He's really good.
He's got 6 sacks on the season. So they're going to have to find a way to beat, as Melly was saying earlier, the secretive cover 2 that seems to have just been the rage in the NFL over the past first half of the season. But it's been around forever. And then, it's kind of maddening and kind of perplexing how they're not able to exploit that. But, the Raiders defense, they lost to Daniel Jones last week in the Giants. So, they might be a little upset coming into this game, but, they've had 2 straight shootouts last year. So probably see another shootout on Sunday.
Blair, what's really interesting about the Raiders is they're really good against the pass and really not good against the run. And so as much as we've seen teams dare the Chiefs to run the ball all season long, this one's going to do it more than anybody. Those drives that you mentioned, one of them was when they ran the ball 7 times last week. One of their touchdown drives when they ran the ball 7 times on the opening drive last week. They probably should have had an opening drive touchdown against the Giants before the interception that went off Jerick McKinnon's helmet. Also a drive where they ran the ball a lot. And so, will the Chiefs? This is a game that I think will tell us: do the Chiefs have it in them to actually commit to running the football? It's what defenses are begging them to do. And like I said, specifically this one is going to be saying, if you want to have success, you're going to run the football against us. And I'm not convinced that the Chiefs want to do that. Well, I'm very convinced they don't want to do that. I'm not convinced they're even willing to do it. So I think that's going to be a really interesting subplot Sunday.
And you're right, Sam. I think the Raiders have a big advantage at defensive ends versus Chiefs tackles with Crosby and Ngakoue against Orlando Brown Jr. And who do we think is going to start at right tackle, Herbie? What's your best guess right now?
In all likelihood, it's going to be Andrew Wiley. Mike Remmers and Lucas Niang have missed 2 straight days of practice. And if they're not on the practice field Friday late morning, early afternoon, and it is probably going to be Andrew Wiley.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. This teeth gnashing over Patrick Mahomes and his performance, the offense's performance. One figure that I didn't include in that 27 possessions was the last one that the Chiefs played, and that was getting possession with 4 minutes and 55 seconds remaining Sunday against the Packers after Green Bay had just scored to make it 13-7. The way the Chiefs offense was going, I just thought, for sure the Packers are going to get the ball back. It'll be up to the Chiefs defense to stop Jordan Love. And Packers never got the ball back. 3 first down passes by Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Hardman, and then the final one to Hill on the 3rd and 10. Just a very familiar Patrick Mahomes play where he gets in trouble, rolls right, ad-libs, and there's Tyreek Hill finding himself open for a 13-yard gain. I know we wrote about it after the game. Melly, I think you did base your column on it, but was there enough in that 1 5-minute possession to lead you to think that look, Packers have a good defense. They were all in on stopping the Chiefs right there. Chiefs had their best possession of the last 3 weeks, and they didn't, and it didn't involve a score.
You know what's weird about this is my brain works in weird ways. I understand that, but just follow me if you will. If this was Mahomes' first year as quarterback, everything that we've seen would be right in line. And that play, I think, would be like, I don't know. That's probably what they wanted to do, but we need to see more of it. You know what I mean? Like that's, if we were just focused on what we've seen this season, but the fact that we've seen him just do things that like no quarterback has ever done, the best start to a career ever. You have to think that that's in him, unless he reached his athletic peak at 25 and it's all downhill from here, you have to believe that that's in him. So I know that we all, and maybe I shouldn't speak for anybody else. It's just always in constant search for these bright moments of 2018, 2019, 2020 Mahomes. And that was, unless I'm forgetting he's had good throws. He had an absolute laser. Nobody cares because the score was what the score was, but there was a next level throw against the Titans. They had some big plays against the Browns. They've done some stuff, but that to me, context, game situation, the call, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy choosing that call in that moment when I think they could have run the ball and Jordan Love's not going 90 yards in 65 seconds or whatever it was for a touchdown. I don't think. But to make that call in that situation, I think that was the most, 2019 Chiefs thing that I think that we've seen so far. So it can be, and this is a hell of a time for it to have to come out again, a good opponent on the road, the NFL's biggest stage, Sunday Night Football. Sorry, I know I'm rambling, but I also think that Mahomes is like a momentum guy. And I think that once he gets rolling, he gets really rolling. You know what I mean? I think right now it's going against him. I just wonder if that could be a turning point to go back the other way.
Sunday Night Football. Well, it's almost like the last 3 weeks. If it improves for Mahomes and the offense, we can call the last 3 weeks an optical illusion.
Right. And also, Blair, I guess I'm rubbing it in. You'll be here Sunday. Is that right?
We'll be here. We'll be here around midnight on Sunday, as I hope Paul and Travis and Andrew and Brian and everybody who's joined us today, and Alan, Rob, I hope they're all here at midnight on Sunday.
It is a little bit of a reprieve, because that's like a 5 o'clock kick, West Coast time. So it's not, it's a little bit more doable. But again, I'm sorry. I feel like that's probably rubbing it in for you.
Well, your body clocks will say it's midnight.
That is true, especially after a flight.
And God knows where McDowell and Herbie's body clocks are going to be at that time anyway. Herbie, you came up with some grades this week, came up with a report card. I do that after every game, but you're the, I may be the professor, but you're the head of the department. So what was the range of grades? What was it? Who got the high? Who got the low?
I gave Hill and Kelsey, to me, they're up at the top. And then you also Tyrann Mathieu. I gave a couple of incompletes, especially on the defensive line with Frank Clark and Chris Jones, because of all the missed time. Combined, those guys missed 5 games. But they're healthy now, or relatively healthy. They're starting to help this defense turn it around, and that's going to set up for down the road. But as of right now, at the midpoint, I can't give them a solid grade because of all the missed time. Obviously, Daniel Sorensen, I kind of went back and forth on that one. Defensively, it's an F, but he still contributes on special teams. And the Chiefs do see some value in him on special teams. And he does come into the game with certain personnel packages. So he got the lowest grade of them all, a D-, which I'm sure like a lot of people on social media will disagree with based on a lot of the comments whenever there's a big play that he's giving up. He's in the midst of a career worst year. There's no doubt about that. But I gave him a D- simply because he is one of the contributors on special teams. The big one, Mahomes, he's a C to me as of right now. I can't give him anything above a C.
How about the coaching staff?
C+, based on expectations. You got to remember, at this point last year, the Chiefs were 8-1. A lot of pundits, a lot of NFL analysts, even including us, we looked at this team as a juggernaut, and a 5-4 start to the season. To me, that's a team that's underachieving. And that's on the coaching staff. When a team is underachieving, that's on the coaching staff. That's on leadership. That's on rallying the troops, so to speak. And it's just not happening. And when you have a team that's 5-4, you mentioned the quarterbacks they've beaten. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And they haven't beaten Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, Lamar Jackson, and who's the other quarterback that they lost to?
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And it just hasn't happened.
I agree. I read that report card, Herbie. I thought you did a good job with the grades. I enjoyed it. It's on kansascity.com, so please go and read it. You didn't grade every player. Didn't have 53 grades, so I think there would have been a tall order. But you did highlight the ones who stand out. And speaking of Sorensen, I'll tell you what. When Jaron Reed has a bad game, nobody kind of notices. You look at the stats and you have to look at the film. When Daniel Sorensen has a bad game, football is a total team game, right? Except when Sorensen's getting beat, and then it's an individual meltdown, and it's just been kind of a shame for him. He is absolutely out in the out on an island, and that was a terrible play against the Packers, the coverage and then the missed tackle. So
that's the only play of his I remember all game.
That's right. That's right. But again, as we were talking about with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and the running game, I think there is a correlation between his snaps being reduced and the improved play of the defense. I mean, is that too simple a connection? But defense has played really well again. Consider who's a quarterback, but the defense has put up some good numbers the last few weeks.
There's a chart going around the internet, and it's one of these line graph things side by side, and one is Sorensen snaps, and the other is points per game against the Chiefs. It's a freaking mirror. It really it looks like the same chart. And look, like there's some of that is coincidental, right? Like, I mean, there's just one person doesn't make that much of a difference. But everybody know what Sorensen's the passer rating against him is?
It's perfect.
It's 158.3, which literally
is perfect.
Yeah, you cannot have 158.4. There's some stuff, man. There is some stuff. But I will say this, at least according to Pro Football Focus, he's only had 8 snaps as a free safety in the last 4 games, I think. So, they're getting there. And I think in those 8 snaps, he's probably at 158.3 passer rating again. But still, it's only 8 snaps in 4 games.
And Blair, you bring up a good point. I think it was you that mentioned that it's kind of hard not to notice. I mean, most of these plays are coming down the field. He's allowing 17 plus yards per completion. So, he's on the bad end of a lot of explosive plays. He's allowed 4 touchdowns, 11 missed tackles through the first half of the season. And it's the highest missed tackle rate that he has right now. I think he's missing 1 out of every 5 tackles. And that's just a brutal career year for him.
17 yards per completion or whatever, that number you just said, Herbie. And it's like an 82% completion percentage. Usually you got to choose one or the other.
I just want to know what it would take for Herbie to give out an F.
If he didn't contribute on special teams, it was a D-. That's if he wasn't doing anything else, but they do use him on special teams. Not as much as they have in years past, but he is still counted on there. So he's still contributing there. And we haven't seen any of those 17-yard games on special teams against him.
Well, I won't speak for Herbie, but thank goodness for D- non-failing grades. It's actually we're actually at the midway point of the season. I know the Chiefs have played 9, stand 5-4. By the way, there are 9 teams in the AFC that are either 5-3 or 5-4 after last night's Baltimore loss to the Miami Dolphins. How crazy was that? So in terms of games played, Chiefs just over the midway point, but because the bye week comes in the second half of the season for the Chiefs, 9 weeks remaining for them. Yes, they were 6-4 just in 2019 and caught fire. And Melly, if I didn't realize that week 11 through 13 stat in 2019, that's when the Chiefs were winning, right? It was part of their 10 in a row to end the season with a Super Bowl victory when Mahomes was having that bad, at least statistically, a down stretch. I want to say there was a Broncos game involved in there too.
Yeah, I think it was, here it is, Chargers, games 11 through 13, not weeks. It was Chargers, Raiders, Patriots, those 3 games. 180 yards, 163 yards, 271. So those were the 3 games we're talking about. But yeah, they won all 3. They won all 3. That Raiders game, they scored 40 points. You guys remember that? That's the one where they scored like, I think 28 in the second quarter. It was like they were bad for 3 quarters, and then just for 1 quarter, they were, the best team that's ever played football.
That was all DeMarcus. Wasn't that his big game?
The DeMarcus Robinson game. Yes, the single DeMarcus Robinson game. Before we let poor Dan Sorensen off the hook, how bad is Armani Watts? Shouldn't he be getting snaps? I mean, I don't know what we see there, or what Spagnuolo and the defense sees there, but he is actually behind Sorensen on the depth chart. Maybe we'll see him on the field some more. All right. Hey, look, I never asked you guys about kind of game predictions, because if the Chiefs are favored by a bunch, or which has been typically the case the last few years, there's no reason to go down that road. But slight favorite, I think it's Sam. Is it McDowell 2.5?
That's correct.
2.5 points. Chiefs are favored on the road against the best quarterback they will have seen the last month. Does anybody think the Chiefs lose this game? Hearing silence, I say it's unanimous that we think the Chiefs are going to win. I picked the Chiefs to win by a field goal. But I don't know how you can look at this team and see what they've done in recent weeks and think they can get to 30. It just seems so distant to me now that this offense can produce 30 points, 31 points.
I'm the most stubborn and possibly stupid person in the world, because this is the week. I think this is the week they're going to break out. Just like each of the last 4 or 5 weeks is the week that they're going to break out. But I keep thinking they've got too much talent, man. I think they can get to 30 despite everything that we've seen.
I don't know. I agree with what I heard earlier about the need to run. I think that'll shorten the game a little bit. Maybe it'll limit possessions. We might only see a 7 or 8 possession game instead of 9, 10, or 11 possessions, which increases the chance of scoring. So I don't know. The other thing is they didn't turn the ball over last week and still had the lowest total yards and passing yards in the Mahomes era. So they took care of the one thing that we all thought was the biggest problem, the turnovers on offense, and it still didn't unlock the offense. So their second half, by the way, against the Packers, punt game. So anyway, that's where we are. That's where we are with the Chiefs. And where Herbie and Sam McDowell are going to be is in Las Vegas very soon to be followed by Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian. I really look forward to reading their stuff, and hope you guys have a safe trip. Thanks, Beth Welsh, for producing today. And please join us after the game, midnight American time. It'll be 2 hours earlier where these guys will be. So take care, and we'll talk to you Sunday.
That'll do it for today and this week on SportsBeat KC. Big thanks to our production staff of Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett. Tip of the cap to Herbie Teope, Sam McDowell, Vahe Gregorian, and Sam Mellinger for Talking Chiefs. Links to their stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. So let's talk about the morning sports edition. If you're not seeing it, you are really missing out. On kansascity.com, go to the Star's e-edition. That's a replica of the printed newspaper on your screen that comes with your digital subscription. Well, now there's an updated sports section produced separately that goes along with it. When you open the e-edition, there's a box in the upper right-hand corner that says All Editions. Click on that and you can access, today, 47 pages of sports. All the Chiefs, news, Royals, Sporting Kansas City, Mizzou, KU, K-State, it's all there. Dolphins' victory over the Ravens last night, Pittsburgh's win over North Carolina in college football, all good stuff. However you see it, you know what I'm talking about. It is complete coverage of the previous day's news, sports, features, statistics, everything. Hey, thanks for reading the Star and listening to our podcast lineup. Mellinger Minutes for Your Ears out today as well. Give that a listen. You're helping support the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City, and we couldn't produce programs like SportsBeat KC without you. We'll be back on Monday breaking down the Chiefs-Raiders game. Be sure to tune in then.